Welcome to Office Hours. It's me, Devin. Excited to see all of you here, to be here with all of you. I think my audio is working this time. Does someone in chat let me know this is working? Y'all, I've I've replaced everything except the mic arm to make sure that the audio is working. I replaced um, the mixer. I replaced the USB cable. I replaced the XLR cable. I got a different pod mic instead of the one I would have. No, Cyber Prime, is my audio really out of sync? See, Cyber Prime, you can't gaslight me like that. Um, uh, so happy. Okay. Everyone, welcome. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Office Hours. We have some fun stuff to cover. Sync actually is off. Oh no. Oh no. Discussion gym chat about players should or should not be able to review a gym even if they've never played with them. What are your thoughts, Nina? I would probably look towards the review policy on what that says. Um, it's out of sync for me. Also, I fear no, might be a connection. I think it's off from. Are you actually a real person? Not for me. It could be YouTube servers. Yeah, maybe just refresh, see if I fix. Just nothing you can do. Sound comes for just don't look at me. It's fine. This is how I talk. The sound that comes out of my mouth is just delayed. So it's very unnerving. Let me bring up my notes. We got a lot to cover. First, this is kind of a fun one. The Start Playing koozie. That's right. We have Start Playing koozies, but you can't buy them. You can't buy the Start Playing koozie because there's only one way to get a Start Playing koozie. And that is by being one of the first of 30 people to get the new merch. Let me show you our new merch. It's so dope. Okay. Here's a big old image. There we go. This is the new Start Playing merch. It's called 10 Rays to Die. It's inspired by kind of like old school D&D. I can't actually tell you if this is a beholder. I think the actual term I could use is eye tyrant. This one's pretty great though. And again, we always try to make sure we can make these as affordable as possible to everyone. So we pretty much sell them at cost. This one is going for $16, and you can see it on the website. It's 10 Rays I Hate About You, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Rays. These are all names we came up with for this shirt, but 10 Rays to Die is what won. Now, if you were one of the first of 30 people to order one of the shirts, you will also get a free koozie with it, just because I wanted to see if koozies looked good, so I printed some. Eye creature for copyright purposes, yeah. So those are now on the site. We also have a smattering of the old design. We have the logo-less version that everyone got last time, and a logo version of our old. We have a few units left of those and a few units left of the hoodie. So those are all up there if you guys want to grab any. There's a difference though. These aren't pre-sales. Usually what we do is we say like, hey, order us whatever you want, and then we'll just produce that many. This time we actually just ordered 110, and so we're just going to be selling 110. It's actually 130 because we also got a few tank tops. If you want to get this in a tank top. And we go up to, I believe, 5X is the biggest size that we got in this one. So something to keep in mind. Let's see, clean up by kind. Do I have the, oh yeah, here's the tank top. Up. So these will actually start shipping on Thursday, I believe. Do you got an EU warehouse that is not the UK? I unfortunately don't have a UK warehouse yet. Hopefully in the future. Wouldn't that be cool? Okay. So that's the merch stuff. You can see the doggo later. She's not in here right now. It's actually really funny. I tell her we have to go to work, and she comes into the room, sits in her little spot while I work. It is quite adorable. Let me pull up what we're talking about today. Okay, so we launched yesterday the test for the new player signal to game masters. The new player signal to game masters is a signal to you, the game master, if a player is new on StartPlaying. Now, how we do this is we look to see if it is their first request ever. If we roll this out eventually, we're probably going to be a little bit more sophisticated with how we display this, but we want to get an answer really quickly, and we didn't want to have to build a lot to get the answer. That's a big thing about like A/B testing. We don't want to have to build a really in-depth feature if we're not going to end up building it if it loses, right? So a lot of the times, like with the charge at checkout, we don't really account for free session 0. Because if we did, it would take us a lot more work to actually build that feature. We'd have to get GMs to adopt a way to then mark a game as a free session 0 and then run the test. That's going to be a lot harder to do. So with this, we're only looking for the very first request. So, and it's some people will be in the test, some will not. But if you have a new player in your game, it'll show that they are brand new to StartPlaying and that you're their first GM on it. This is really important because that is the most valuable player a GM can get. If a new player plays with you and has a great time, the average time they play with that GM is 14 months. That's crazy. Most players don't play with more than one GM. That's another crazy fact. Like 75% of players only play with one GM. I think 8% of players play with more than 2 GMs. So that's also a really funny thing because we're going to talk about some of the research we did with player reviews. If you saw the reviews a player has left, you're probably going to see one review because for most players, they've only played with one other GM. Or you're going to see no reviews because they just haven't played with any GMs. Less than 8% of players are going to have multiple reviews. The thing is, GMs have tons of players, right? GMs have a lot of players that they interact with. Players pretty much interact with one GM for the most part. Okay. I'm going to talk about the GM profile next, but we have some questions in chat, so I'm going to go through those. If I didn't answer your question, I missed it because chat has moved, go ahead and just ask it again. Nina, can we see the doggo today? You will see Valentine. Order merge, was I fast enough? Odd Squirrel, I think you might be the first one. Michael Gray, okay, you probably maybe I'll see who got first between Michael and Odd Squirrel. Let's see. Would have bet on that. Okay. Lou asks, would you ever consider making a page for random games or a search option that shuffles game listings? Probably not, because that's not what players have kind of said what they're interested in. Again, we try not to be too feature-minded. We try to be very problem-minded. And so we try to figure out, like, what is the problems our players are having? And Lou, I think that's how I see your name. One of the best examples of this is game masters started requesting, saying we would love an exclusion filter so I can exclude game systems from search. And some players asked for this too. But when we talked to these people, all they wanted to do was to exclude Dungeons and Dragons and maybe Pathfinder. None of these people were looking to exclude Blades in the Dark. None of these people were looking to exclude Brindlewood Bay or Cyberpunk Red. And that's because the biggest games take up the most space. And so the feature that would really work is exclude D&D or exclude Pathfinder, which is a lot easier to build than exclude any system. So that's what I mean. Like we try to first focus on like, what is the problem our players are having to find the games they want? And then how can we help for that? Now, one of the things we did is we also made it, you can search by theme, which is a big one that helps a lot of players because they're like, I want to play a pirate game, but I don't know what kind of pirate game I want to play. So now they can just go to theme, look at pirates and see all the games that are tagged pirate. Okay. Lou, let me know if that answers your question. Let's see. We have Odd Scroll. Can we talk about the new PDP? Why is vital game information positioned below the Meet the GM section? Notably, can party notes be put at the very top below the image? Please, please. Odd Scroll. So the actually, I'll tell you the exact output it did. Let's see. PDP redesign. Yeah. So the reason it's not is the design that we had launched at 5%. We interviewed players kind of asking, like, what is it that you're looking for and you want to see? And that's kind of how we decided what would go where. Recruiting notes was not a big important aspect for players when we talked about them. So that's why we try to put all the important stuff at the top that players were interested in. And that's kind of what drove that decision. But of course, we're always going to be tweaking things because once you launch something, then you see patterns change and then you see people experience product differently. And so there might be some changes, but like we're also right now, we're experimenting with the game card. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's see. Question: what is something players want that GMs don't? What is something want? What is something players want that GMs don't? God, that's a great one. Well, players want reviews sorted by sessions played, and GMs want to be able to pin a review. But players generally didn't like that. They felt that a pinned review would be a distrustful review because it was curated. But when we talk to players, like they're like, what reviews do you think are the most important? They're like, oh, the ones that have the most sessions played. And that's why when you look at your GM profile today, we now sort on the highest sessions played as the reviews that are shown. You can still resort them as you want, but that's what we notice is like the most impactful for players. Perhaps eventually it might be good to extend new player to player who haven't played with the same GM. Perhaps eventually it might be good to extend new player to players who haven't played with the GM twice or 3x. That way, if someone shops around, they still have the significant signifier for it. Yeah, Ross, yeah. I see what you mean, Ross. Yes, like I said, if we end up launching this tool, we're going to make it a little more sophisticated. Like maybe it's there until you actually have your first transaction, or until you've been considered an active player, things like that. So it's maybe like a transaction has been at least 2 months old or something like that. So, but right now to make the launch the test the fastest for the new GM signal, it's just like the first request. Let's see. I think the next question here is Odd Squirrel. Sometimes for campaigns under the same template, I use party notes to express what's different about them. Used to be the very top. Since it moved, it's a pain point. I totally understand that. We just didn't see players have too much need to see that as one of the first things they look for. Gray Bungian. Advice to get out of a slump with no players. I mean, I would go and I would read the listing reviews. I would read what everyone is telling everyone else about their listing, and I would think about how can that apply to me. Is maybe one of the first ways I would look at. While on the subject of reviews, has research gone into if the 5-star review system is seen more or less trustworthy by players? That's actually why we switched to it, Chrono. Is because players, when we talk to players about like what they would find more valuable, is that what's really funny though is people always say, well, why are there no 3-star reviews? Are these reviews fake? It's funny is because that GM is no longer running games because they couldn't run great games. Anything that's above a 4-star, we've seen from our research players trust. But anything below a 4-star, then there's usually kind of problems, and that's usually like you aren't running a game professionally, right? It could just be a pickup game, but that's not what players expect. And so that's why most GMs you see on the site do have a high number of like 4.5 and higher. And pretty much 4.5 and higher is the same across all of our data. There's very little difference between a 4.5 GM and a 5 GM as far as the likelihood of a transaction and the average retention rate. I hope that answers your question, Chrono. Let's see. Chris Hodge, does this setup not help existing GMs widen the gap against new GMs looking to get started? Chris Hodge, I don't know what that question is. I feel like there's another part, something else you were talking about, and I felt like I came into the sentence halfway through. Feel free to go ahead and reformat. Make sure you put question out there, and I'll give that a call out. Awkward GM Corbin question: how many players are on StartPlaying versus GMs ratio? If you can give solid numbers, I know we have something like 80,000 players. Last time I checked. Dasm question: can we have all Can we have a set all players to free on off to help with session 0, please? DASM C2, that all kind of depends on the charge at checkout test that we're running. Uh, but there is a concept that we've been researching, which is the next session free button. But it's also going to be very dependent on. So actually, let me tell you guys a really funny problem that we're going to have to solve. So if we decide to do charge at checkout, right, which is your charge for the first session or for a one shot, right when you check out rather than at time of the game. And then all future games, you're charged at the time of the game. If we do that, we have to account for a free session 0, right? If we actually roll this out as a full-time feature, we have to account for free session 0 or first session free. So do we do that in the adventure where you hit a button and then we look to see, okay, has a session happened? And once a session has happened, then they can be charged? Or do we let you still control it? And then when you select the button, it just advertises that, allows you to be sorted. Because if we also have a next session free button, or maybe when you hit that, when they join, they're automatically marked as first session free. There's a lot of intricacies that could cause problems, because then maybe a GM ends up running the session, but they cancel it, but they still ran it. And then the next session happens, but the system hasn't seen that they actually ran a session yet. And so then that next session ends up also being free. So there's a lot of these little complexities that we have to solve if we launch that. And if we don't, it's a lot easier, right? But if we do, we have to find a way to solve that. Okay. I'm actually, let's see. There's a lot of questions coming in. I want to actually stay on track and then answer these questions if we have extra time. So I'd like to talk to you about the new GM redesign. And then I'll go ahead and pick up on questions. And I'll pick up on questions. You'll have to answer the question again. Okay. So the Game Master profile redesign has launched, and it absolutely blew the old design out of the water. The relative difference was 15% uplift in bookings with the redesign. So how we measure this is we look for people who visited a Game Master's page and the likelihood of them also then purchasing. So we looked at a control group and the variant. It's about a 0.5 percentage point more, which when you think about the grand scheme of things, if you go from, if you have 1,000 customers come through and you have a 2% conversion rate, right, that's 20. But if it's a 2.5, that's 25. That's still sizable when that begins to compound. But it was a 15% lift from control. So we launched it. It was fantastic. Huge kudos to the design team, to the eng team, to customer teams for their research. This is great. We're seeing customers react to it positively. I think the prompts are helping a lot. The way the information is organized is great. So I'm pumped. There's a new project that Nina is working on right now. Nina is one of our product designers. She's working on a redesign of the Game Master search page, because we are also working on a redesign of the game search page. So she's working on both of those. I showed you all last week the game search redesign. It's going really well. I wonder if I have a screenshot I can show you real quick. I think I took one last week, didn't I? This is what the new search is going to look like. Here we go. I'll show you. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my goodness. How great is that? For those that don't know, this is the old design of the site. This is like the first year. They're like the second year of StartPlaying. Now, let me see if I can actually find it for you. It's the scenario designs. I think maybe they're on my old laptop, but I'll go ahead and grab them from Figma. I'll take a screenshot of this. This is pretty cool. Back to files. Let's see. Workbench. Scenario filters. And handoff. Okay, cool. So I think I've told you guys about this. We talked about it about a week ago, but we're going to talk about it here too. Just because it's worth seeing. So this is a test that we're going to be running. These are scenario filters. They're essentially quick filters. Play today, filling fast, new campaigns, learn to play, top GMs, play by post, exclude D&D, for beginners, high level, Daggerheart, Dungeons and Dragons. There's a lot of flexibility this will offer us. um, uh, then Nina's also doing research on the different cards that we have in search. So you guys, when you all go to search, you see all these different cards. We're playing around with the design of those, the content on them. This is an example of something that we're looking into. We're going to be doing some A/B testing. Again, this is a work in progress, right? This is a real rough draft. But the idea of doing a horizontal scroll, and you could pack in a lot more information in this. But players might not want that more information. So we're going to continue kind of playing around with things. Let's see. Okay. We talked about doing research on the Find GM page, doing research on the game search page. Those are two things we're doing right now. And we're also doing research on player profiles. So we are essentially like, hey, GMs, what do you want out of a player profile? Almost all GMs want to be able to see reviews of that a player left, which is going to be a funky thing because you're going to see a lot of players with one review or no reviews. Most players who join your games, if we do show you the reviews they left, it'll be one or two. Or it'll be one or none. That'll be the majority of reviews you see. And so there's going to be a funny thing is someone's going to join your game. They're not new on StartPlaying. You've probably been here for a year, but they finally decided to sign up for a game, and they'll join yours and they have no reviews. That's something you're probably going to see if we do that. Players are interested in it because they want to see who else is in the game, kind of get a vibe. We feel it'll be an interesting A/B test to see like what happens if we show players who else is in the game. What is that going to do? That should be kind of interesting. Okay. Questions about game search, GM search, and the cards. I'll answer any questions on that first, and then afterwards, I'll go into our next stuff, and then we'll go ahead and make sure we spend the end of this time, which is general questions. Let's see. Question. There we go. Shidness. Was the 15 or 50 for the increase in the profile? 15% was the relative increase. Relative difference. No Life Online. Question. Do you believe there is a market for quick play sessions, those that don't exceed 1 hour? I don't see ads for these, but maybe I'm not searching. Are you saying like a game that's like just a 30-minute session? Is that what you mean? Nina, searching by language will probably start on the GM side, and we'll see kind of what the demand is there. But when we start searching by games, we have to then also then build out a lot of support for the other language that we allow you to search games for. Drac, question, are people searching for games or DMs more? I assumed games. I forgot that DM existed. Drac, yes. GMs, the GM search is used way less. The reason why I want to do a test is I want to see, I believe that there's even a small subset of maybe power user who's looking for a GM, for maybe a custom booking that, we don't have enough tools for. Now, when I think about hey, what features can I build that is going to explode the business, right? That's going to make everyone do well. I also want to think about things that is our compounding growth. If I do 3 different projects and they all provide a 1x or a 2x return, that compounds to a lot, and that affects a lot of GMs. Rather than one feature that might be a 10x return, but that's a bigger risk. So I'm really trying to, with CRO, I'm really trying to focus on everything has a gain. Everything will be a positive impact in some way, even if it's smaller, because if we do enough of it, that compounds. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the GM search, because I feel there is a customer there and they're just not serviced as well, but I think we could do something to help that out a lot. Thomas, question, any chance that part of the new GM search will allow searching for things like LGBTQI tables, things like this? So GM search, we're probably going to explore with searching by identity tag, since identity tags are opt-in and it's something that GMs choose to, but we're going to be changing the feature that says, allow me to be messaged, where you can only be messaged by people who join your game. So you can turn off direct messaging, especially for people who are part of marginalized communities. We don't want someone to be able to find a list of those folks and just, spam them, right? So if you want to be able to turn those messagings off, you can. Clarissa, is StartPlaying worried about GMs might choose to exclude players from games if they have? Well, Clarissa, I would say your likelihood of your onboarding rate, all your kind of stats will be reduced if you're turning players away from your game, right? So if you are very particular about who you join your game because you require approval, you're getting less bookings than someone who has instant book. Instant book is going to allow those folks in. For the most part, the problematic players are removed because they're reported for being problematic. I don't think you're going to see a lot of less than 1% of players have given a negative review. So I don't think it's going to swing the actual conversion rates. But it's something that's still why we test this kind of stuff, right? So I still think it's really valuable. But there's not enough problem players out there that I think a feature like this would actually swing things in a negative way. Clarissa, let me know if that answers your question. Her too many listings is a problem. Yeah, if I look at a GM's game, right, and I look at their other games and I see that they have 30 games up and none of them have any players in it, I'm not going to trust that. But if I see a GM have like maybe 1 to 3, that is something I'm more likely to trust because they're new. These are the 3 games they have. Plus, you as a GM can really focus on those listings. Now, we are doing a test that is limiting the amount of games a new GM can create, the amount of listings a new GM can create when they join StartPlaying. We're going to see which cohort of GM performs better in a 30 and 60-day period. We know that the likelihood of a transaction is a little bit higher the less games you have. Or the less, if you have 5 games, you're more likely to see a conversion than if you have 10 games. But once you have, but that changes a lot, right? That changes based off of like how many active games you have. But more pending games and active games is definitely an indicator. And so that's why we're going to run this test. Let's see. 3 hats. Shidness, I think you asked a question about, or someone asked a question about, no life online, 1 hour max, a flash play style or something that people can squeeze in quick session. I'll be down to play when I'm at the airport with a day of flight. I haven't really seen that. And we haven't seen that kind of desire from the players. And remember, we've interviewed over 1,000 players about their interests. So we have a really good idea, but sometimes we're not asking the right questions. But we would have probably heard something around that. We do know that there are a lot of players who want to play today. And that's why in that, design I showed you is the play today. There's a scenario filter for that because we do think there's a player. And here's the thing: if I go back to that, right? If I show you, if we look at these, this project is going to teach us a lot of stuff, y'all. It's going to teach us do people want new campaigns? Do they want learn to play games? Do they want play by post? Do they want beginner games? What do they want? Are they hitting play today? And then we can use that data to then kind of build new products because we can see there's an appetite. Okay. 3 hats. The best is the game that you want to run. Shinna says based safety move. I think based is good, right? Cool. Drak or Darku says, will there be a publicly? Will we be able to publicly reply to reviews soon? My only bad review mentions some mixed issues I had the day, but bought a new mic the very next day, and so I'd love to reply to that. Here's the thing: we haven't seen players and interest in that. When we kind of talked about where would they see valuable in that. I don't think you got to worry about that. I think, the fact that you have that and you probably have a bunch of other good reviews, I don't think it's really going to hurt you that much. That might be something we do in the future, but right now, most of the focus is going to be on how can we get how can we get more players playing? And the reviews, not a lot of people go and click the read more reviews. That's very little. And when they were clicking the read more reviews, and then they were sorting on sessions played. So that top 6 is really the most important thing for you to focus on. Let's see. Jared says, I have several players who have left positive reviews or who have recruited new players to the table. I would love to give a direct coupon or discount as an incentive. Any talk on that, Jared? Yeah, you could change your player's price to whatever you want. And so I think that's, I mean, the best way to do it. What we've noticed though is discounting and like promotional discounts have led to really low retentive players. So that's why we haven't prioritized it as a tool. We did have that with early bird booking, which was a kind of a discounting tool, and we realized it was hurting GMs more than it was helping them. Also, here's something really interesting. Loyalty programs generally aren't very effective. And the reason being is the most loyal customers were always going to be loyal because of your service, not because of your program. So usually loyalty programs end up giving away more value than they get in return. So if you're like, oh, I'm going to get, every 10th game you get for free. The people who are going to be in every 10th game are the people who are most likely were always going to be in there. The gains you get from loyalty programs are usually very small. And that's just kind of like some great research around loyalty programs generally, and that's why we also haven't prioritized something like that. Things like a first credit free is a little bit easier because they still have to make that purchase, right? It's something that kind of gets people in the door. Tara Reed, I loved you and Josie and the Pussycats. Can you briefly touch on the events for those who have never participated in one? Do we just run games related to the event, or are there other steps? To read it, check our FAQ. It has the steps on how to create an adventure for an event, and check the Discord when new events are posted if you want to participate by getting a free copy of the adventure of the game that is being promoted if you don't already have one. Okay. Let's see. Keith Langley, question, aka suggestion. High level play might be a good filter button. Keith, are you kidding me? Look. Oh, it's not there. Yeah, it's right here. Keith, look at that. Look at that. What is that? What is that, Keith? What is that? What is it? See? Great minds think alike. Great minds think alike. Question, any chance of a way to track completed campaigns on your GM profile, maybe with confirmation for your players? I don't know if we'll do completed campaigns, but I do want to roll out a finish campaign button, which is going to record the end of that will kick everyone from the game, close it out. I want to do that. That's definitely part of like the quality of life sprint. Faux Phoenix, players who see new GMs have a lot of listings hurt them, but what about GMs who have 200 plus sessions, been on speech for a while? Is a lot of listings bad for them too? If no one's in them, you should try to keep it to like for every like 3 active campaigns, you have 1 to 2 pending campaigns. All right, they want to see you, Valentine. See, here is the pup. She's here. Okay, let's see. Has there been any push by players for zero AI content? So this is actually interesting. We were doing a big research project on game listing carts. And when it came to art, there was very few people that said, "Oh, I love AI art," or anytime the AI art was mentioned, most players surveyed said they avoided those games. Now, there's some players that just don't tell the difference or have no opinion, but if there is an opinion, it's usually not a positive one from the research we've kind of gathered from game carts. Let's see. Listing art really runs the gamut. Any research on how art affects signups? Art affects signups. It's that and the title are some of the most important things that people look at. So you should always make sure that your title and your art are both using their space effectively. Don't put your title in your art because it's in the title. So that's a big thing. There's also a whole blog post about how to do great art on your listings. Leland, question, having those completed campaigns as a metric that can be brought up on the insight page would be super helpful. I definitely think it'd be cool to see the amount of campaigns you've finished. The problem is we won't be able to do this retroactively. So it's something that maybe we'll launch and then 2 years later we'll then launch as a cumulative score, but it's going to show GMs who've had 1,000 games run and they've finished 2 campaigns because it's really hard to do retroactively. Pup is so last year. We want to see baby. Drucky, will we be able to have a statistics section in our GM section, for example, to see all our old campaigns when we ran them, which players were in them. Druckle, probably not, because it's not actively driving new users, and that's kind of the biggest focus on our CRO sprints. That's a great project if we're looking to like acute quality of life. Here, you want to see the baby real quick? Come here, come here. These are my two babies. Say hello. Say hello. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have? Okay, yeah, see? You're right there. That's where you gotta look. You've seen the baby and you've seen the pup. What are the rules with AI art to advertise games and the copyright rules? So here's the big thing: is we can't limit AI art. It would have to be done by humans, and we have to then be making judgment calls all day. So right now, if you want to use AI art for your game listing, you can, knowing that like it will turn off some players, and those players won't book with you. But some players might not mind. So that's really all the guidance I can offer for that. If you're using an intellectual property in the art that you've generated, then you are also responsible. Remember, when you upload the art, you are saying, I have the rights to use this. And if you don't have the rights and the rights holder come and they file a copyright notice, you are effectively liable for copyright infringement. That's the whole thing when you upload that. Okay. Why doesn't your baby have a beard yet? He does. We shave it daily. Okay, let's see. Can I pet that dog? Let's see. Okay. Great. Where do we find the blog? StartPlaying.games/blog. It's also in the footer. The reason why it's not in the main navigation is it detracts from booking. It detracts from finding games. The blog is a great tool to get people aware of Start Playing. But players, when they come to Start Playing, they're not really looking for the blog, right? They find the blog because it's shared somewhere, or they're searching for something on Google and they come across one of our articles. But people aren't coming to Start Playing because they want to see what's new in the blog, right? The blog kind of brings in users. So that's why we don't spend a lot of energy to drive people to that blog. Now, you can also see a bunch of blog posts on the homepage, a bunch of blog posts on the different directory pages, mechanics pages, etc. Chrono, can we work the GM profile to show ongoing full games so it doesn't appear? Chrono, here's the thing. We do need to come up with a solution for the empty state, but showing full games isn't what we want to do because it keeps people from booking. Now, there is some other stuff we're looking at, like around saving games, which is maybe a little bit different. But we know when we show full games, people are less likely to book because they want the thing they can't have. Tales of Venom, they would all have to join your game and maybe do a custom payment, but they can't all get verified. Follow up on Chrono's idea. Maybe we can show full tables with a button for the players. Nina's the same thing, right? Like if we even if we did that in search, it would lead to lower amount of bookings. Now here's the big thing is, if you don't have any games available, you're not going to show up in GM search. You're not going to show up in regular search. So people aren't often seeing your profile with empty games. But I do think that there should be something like, active games being run, or maybe it's kind of like a frosted glass, and you can see there's a bunch of games there. And it says like all their games are full, something like that. We do need to solve the empty state, but that's the problem: solving the empty state, not show full games, because that's solution minded, right? And we know that that solution would drive down booking rates. Drac, we haven't changed the message group function. It still works just the same. If you're having a particular experience, I recommend reaching out to support, and maybe there's a bug. But as far as I see, I haven't seen anything funky with group messaging. Ark Anish wanted to say thank you. What you did with calendars is fantastic. We're really pumped on player calendars. We think it's going to be great. Michael Gray, question. I run for a local trans support group. These players want to review me and be seat fillers to help me launch, but they're teens. Do they need to create accounts, or do their parents? Their parents would have to, unless they're over the age of 13. No. Their parents would have to. Sorry. Because they have to be over the age of 18. Yeah, they'd have to make it, and then they could leave that review. Okay, let me get back to this. Next session, free toggle. We talked about that. We're doing the charge at checkout test right now. It's looking pretty promising, but again, like we have to let it run for a little bit to see, what kind of refund rates we see. The new player signal has launched. We're doing the reducing listing volume test. We did a play-by-post analysis. Play-by-post has a higher refund rate, but a higher onboarding rate, which is really interesting. So that's going to cause like maybe a little bit of priority. Play-by-post is still around 2% of games, like 2.3%. But play-by-post games aren't the volume of play-by-post games that are available that are pending is still a pretty small number. Sometimes when people see like a spammy play-by-post, because that's a thing I've often see reported, it's pretty small in the scale of things. But that's one of the reasons why we're doing the limit amount of listings you can create and see if that is actually helpful. Game card research we're going on. We talked about that. We talked about the new review sort, the new PDPs out, the player calendar. We talked about the new GM profile. Okay, cool. I think that's everything. Let me go ahead and look at what other research we have going on. Product office hours. Okay, so the research we have is players seeing player profiles, what value are player profiles to GMs, the Find GMs page improvements. Those are that kind of research we have going on. And then we're also doing this low new player active onboarding rate. So there is a problem sometimes. It's a small amount. Some GMs are switching their games to active ASAP, even though they're not actually running their games. They're like, hey, this game is active. They have one person in it. They say that they need 3 to run it, but they still need 2 more to actually make it happen, but they're running as active. So what they do is they change the minimum to 1, but then they say, hey, this game will run once 3 people join. So they change it afterwards. Then people join that game, and then they don't end up actually playing when they expect to play. That's a bad experience. So there'll be some, kind of cracking down on that. That's why, like, only make your game active once it's ready to go. The top GM status. That top GM status we're going to be testing after the long weekend. Probably be testing it for about 2 weeks. Again, the goal is to see, does this drive player action? Does this change player behavior? And does that behavior then result in higher onboarding rates, higher tilt rates, higher retention? Those are the 2 success criteria for that. If it does, it's there's 40 different things that track the top GM status. And it'll probably be something that's calculated every week or every month. But first, we got to see if it actually works. Does it lead to players actually choosing those GMs more than other GMs? And does that then also link to things firing more often? I'm kind of hesitant that we can change player behavior. I think players just will always kind of make the decision regardless of like external inputs, because we see people book with GMs who have 0 reviews. Right? GMs who don't even have unverified reviews. So I really think that that's what players do. But this is something that we have research that like players have indicated they want. They want to know like, hey, who's a really reliable GM? So we're going to be looking at this. But again, it's got to do those 2 things. And if that's the case, then we're also going to try to create some kind of success criteria so GMs know how to hit that path. Okay. Oh, we got a lot of questions. Eric says, and if your question is before Eric's, go ahead and just ask it again. Eric says, charge at checkout. How do refunds work if the session never happens? Do not enough players for a one shot? I had this happen this weekend. After if you cancel it, it gets refunded. Or if after it happens and it doesn't happen, you can hit refund. Or they can reach out to support. No live online question. A GM video introduction or montage of play would be neat to see. Like with AI, this would require a lot of time to approve. Next best thing, link to a YouTube. So we thought about that. And one of the problems is we think it might hurt GMs because you aren't able to produce a high enough quality that then it's kind of like you have this new factor to maybe sell yourself on, right? But maybe what most people can create isn't enough to sell themselves on. So if they didn't have anything, they would have more likely to have gotten the purchase. That's one of our suspicions around it. We're probably going to test some things out with it, but it is a very hard thing to test. And so that's why we kind of haven't explored it yet. but it is something we've thought about. It's something that we are curious to see, like, hey, can we solve this, or can we find a way to roll that out? Um, with the charge at checkout, how does that work with games that have not started yet because of lack of player, or maybe won't ever start? Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you remove them from the game, then they'll get refunded. The idea is we're expecting that people are less likely to leave a game, even if it's pending, once they've paid for it, which is going to lead to like a higher retention to that game actually starting. Catching up on stream, so sorry for the late question. In regards to thumbnail art, if Creative Commons art is used for, you have the recommendation on where to put the attribution info? I don't think you have to. Let's see. What is top GM? What qualifies someone as a top GM? So there's 40 different things. Some of those as like retention, reviews. Do you have you had at least 20 transactions? Do you have 10 or more reviews? There's about 40 of them, right? And so we try to figure out like how can we we did a little modeling. Now I talked about this modeling about 2 office hours ago. So this modeling is like, most likely if a GM has these features, if a player plays with them, that player is going to stay and that player is going to end up having a long time. And then we look for things that like are negative indicators, like when they're not going to play, right? So people who have a game that's active and but they're actually not running that game every week. They're just having it active because they want to advertise it's active because they think they're getting more bookings. Let's see. But again, we don't know if this is going to work. And again, I'm very hesitant to say that it will because I don't think that you can change players' booking behavior. And then if you can, I don't think you can change players' outcome behavior. I think that no matter what players, there's going to be a percentage of players that are always going to be flaky. And so I think there's just a part of that in the metrics that we're going to have come out on this to kind of say like, cool, like you can actually swing this. But this test is going to prove that. We have to be data driven. We have to make those decisions that are going to get as many new players for as many GMs as possible. Okay. Is Dagger Heart uptick or downticking? Upticking. July webinars? Yes, there'll probably be July webinars. Let's see. When did StartPlaying launch? March 17th, 2020 was the inception of StartPlaying. That's when me and Nate met over a phone call. About the video thing makes sense. Question, top GM, what's the risk that new GMs who don't have that tag will get less players now, will be even harder time catching up? Q-Star, I don't know, because we keep seeing GMs that have 0 bookings still get have 0 reviews get bookings, right? Every time we've launched something, we've heard a lot of GMs say like, now it's gonna be even harder for new GMs. And new GMs still on average, if a new GM does end up getting a booking, it's usually within the first 28 days. So I don't know. And that's why I said, like, I'm hesitant about that this can actually move player behavior. But we got to be data driven. Can't just trust my gut. Let's see. Question. Refunds are site credit, not cash. I can foresee a new client signing up, being charged at checkout, getting refunded because of the game, being salty about not getting cash back. Keith Lilly, yeah, I mean, of course, and if that's a first-time player, they can always just reach out to support and they'll just give them cash. But that's also a thing that we're tracking. Like how many people like, I actually don't want credit. I want cash. Be like, okay, cool. You can have cash. It's your first game. No worries. For Devin to see your question, you need to type quote. Yes. Michael's Mind, do you know which VTT is the most popular on the site currently? Generally curious, not super important. Yes, I believe the most popular is Tailspire. No, it's not Tailspire. It's Fantasy Ground. No, it's not Fantasy. It's Tabletop Simulator. No. Alchemy. No. Albert Rodeo. No. Foundry. No. Roll20. Actually, the most popular VTT on the platform is the one that you're running. It actually does become with your players. Whatever a player has their first best experience with is usually what they stick with on StartPlaying. But Roll20 is probably one of the bigger ones because Roll20 is a pretty active partner of ours, and so they're very invested in like also telling their audience about StartPlaying is a great place to find games. Same with Alchemy. And we're also doing some talks with Albert Rodeo to do the same. If a VTT is working with us, we do see growth of their VTT, and we do see that more support because they are actively involved in making sure that happens. Okay. Do you know which VT? Oh, I just answered that. Okay. Um, Question: do you have any feedback or advice on DM profile banner? Is that something players care about? Not really. It's something that GMs care about, and that's why we like kept it. There was a few redesigns that we weren't going to do, but players often don't mention it. I forget. I think it was Leland. There was someone who had a really good banner, and it's just a bunch of photos of them doing different expressions. That like, remember, a photo of yourself is the best profile photo you can launch. If you have an avatar or a logo, ditch that. That's not helping your business. A photo of yourself is going to be hands down far better than anything else. It's got to be a good photo. Yeah, it's Corb. Yeah, Corb's got a great one. I do what Corb does. DM Dan, probably next week, if not this week. I mean, I'd probably expect it more this week. Let's see. I think I have another meeting after this. Yeah. Let me see. Okay. I think we have a few. We have another like 5 minutes. And then I got a jet to my next meeting. I'm working on getting where I'm happy with it. Absolutely, everyone has a different level of comfort, and you got to respect that first. And also when it's a photo of y'all, like when I talk about like you should be like service providers are more often booked when there's a photo of them, right? So this is a bit of sales psychology, but they also are booked at a higher rate if they're smiling. So keep that in mind. DM Dan says, Schism asked this, but with the fall of USD, what is the status of internationalization and regional pricing for non-US GMs? Pretty low. It's probably going to be when we do internationalization in 2026. I mean, mainly because it's not going to drive more player growth, and that is the big focus, to have a really healthy GM community. And once we have a lot of those things in place, that I mean, right now you get X amount of players every week. If we can double, triple, quadruple that, then when we work on other things, we're just making that we already see that health coming in. I mean, we have actually seen this past week was the best week for GMs in the company's history. More GMs were running games and making an earning than any other point in the company's history, or the second best week. 2 weeks before that was the best one. So we're seeing that happen, but we want to make sure that like it is not something that has to be, I guess. We want to be a forest, not a potted plant, right? We want it to like naturally be growing because of the rain and the environment, not because we're putting water in every day. And so a lot of what we're building to increase conversions, to make the site have a higher word of mouth, to also make the site convert more, and along with like our paid performance marketing, is all for that environment, right? To make ourselves a forest, not a potted plant. Because once we do that, then we can work on more quality of life stuff, internationalization, kids games, etc. Okay. Shitness question. Did you say memeing or meeting? I don't know. When? I can't remember what I said. I probably said meeting. Can you provide pep talks to would-be GMs who are on the fence, mostly out of fear of failure? No life online. I can. The best one, though, is the onboarding. Here's the big thing. If you're not ready right now, that's okay. When you feel ready, take the jump. But don't do something that you're uncomfortable with, It's on you, right? You're the one that's going to make the decision. You're the one that's going to do what's needed to be done. But you have to be ready for it. Pro GMing, some people will join the site, and it's really funny because they will join the site and then they'll make a subpar listing. They didn't read any of the stuff. They didn't take the onboarding. And like, I haven't received any players. It's been a week. And I'm like, my dude, you got to put in the effort. You got to put the time. You got to put in the work. You got to know how to make a great listing. You got to read the onboarding steps. You got to read the best practices. There's all these tools that we are creating that do make it easier, right? And I mean, listen, I want as many people as possible who want to be a professional GM to be able to make whatever life they want out of it. If you want to be a full-time GM, I want that for you. If you want to be a part-time GM, just so you can afford your dice addiction, I want that for you. That is the goal. And so that's why we need to build a really healthy forest of a business. um, do VGT tables have more bookings than Theater of the Mind? No. I mean, the thing is, great. What can you run your best game ever with? If you can run great VTT games, then do that. But if you can't, don't. If you're not good with VTTs, you're going to run a bad game, and those players aren't going to stick around. But if you can run a great Theater of the Mind game, then run that. Run whatever you're great at and whatever you enjoy. Shannon, do you prefer square or hex grid? Well, square for battle, but hex for crawling. I like hex grid for overland, and I like a square for the dungeon. I mean, that's how I play Shadow Dark. Okay. Let's see. Ross, already out of my size. Remember, tanks and Ts, there's two different ones, so we might have it in T and not in tank. Let's see. Question. I want to be the fullest time GM odd scroll. That's what I want for you. Love the forest metaphor. Thank you. I actually just came up with it. That's off the cuff. Which off the cuff is a term that came from the fact that people used to write like notes on their cuffs, and they would even their speeches, and they would be able to read it off of their cuff. So that's a little fun thing where that came from. Okay. Team. I think we did it. I think we did it. I'm so proud of us. I'm so proud of you. Again, team, like everything we are doing, we've tied our success explicitly to y'all's. We want to see all of you succeed. We want to see all of you get exactly what you want out of being a pro GM. Valentine, come here. Come on. Come on. You want to say goodbye to everyone? Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's my goal. So thanks, everyone. I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday. We will not be here next week for office hours, but we will be here the week after. We'll go be updating you in the Discord, though, about other tests that we'll be rolling out. So, yeah, I hope you have a great week, and I will see you all in the Discord. Bye, y'all. Bye, everyone.